Hello class, today we will be discussing a new lesson topic, and that is album design. It still fits in with our overall theme for the 4 lessons that Joelle and I will be teaching you, that being identity and more specifically how the world around us influences both us and our art. So first I want to start off with looking at 2 really strong examples and 2 really good album covers that are both abstract or non-objective and kind of representative. So first I want you to think about what makes these album covers fun to look at and so unique and memorable. So for that, I would say it's a lot of the principles and elements of design. So for instance, in the album on the left, we have a bunch of negative space and a very heavy emphasis on line and shape in triangle, and then the white ray of light that then becomes scattered through the prism forms the rainbow. Then on the right hand side, we have an album that is very much warpy and flowy in its cover design and is made up of nothing but a bunch of tiny itty bitty little dots. Down even in these sections right here, there's a bunch of little dots that's known as stippling and just creates an overall pleasant image. And I also want you to think about what type of music these 2 albums could be a part of before I tell you in the coming slides. So starting off with some of the artists that have designed them, we have Storm Thorgerson, who not only has a really cool name, but has designed dozens, if not hundreds, of album covers. And you can see the one that we have right there in the middle from the previous slide, which is very heavily based off of very heavy transitions and granular sound that is very unique to the band Pink Floyd. It's a very fun album to listen to and has a lot of unique noise and sort of feeling to it. So a little bit of the history of Storm Thorgerson. He is British. He has been designing albums and drawing and doing photography ever since he was a really little kid, and was actually really close friends with the guitarist of Pink Floyd. He is, as you can tell, kind of all over the place with album designs, from incredibly non-objective in the middle to something that could be considered abstract with the album on the left, where it could kind of be a flower or a cluster of nerves or just a bunch of strings tied together. Then for some reason there's a sheep sitting on a couch in front of the ocean. All very interesting to look at, but still very fun and very thought-provoking. It really pulls you in to think about what is it that I'm about to listen to, which is an incredible thing to do for your artwork and for the music. Then we have Otis Jackson Jr., who was African American and was born in California. Him and his group Madlib started off as a rap group that then just transitioned into more hip hop and just started doing whatever they wanted because it's their music, they can do what they want. So when he created this album, he kind of just had a very free-flowing train of thought. It was very much up to whatever the music dictated. And I find that very fun just due to the fact that there is so much fluidity in it. And now we're going to take a look at some additional album covers just so you can kind of get an idea and sort of think about the types of artwork that you could design. So first we have just a bunch of really simple artworks. We have stuff from Paramore to 30 Days Grace to the Beatles, Arctic Monkeys, Maroon 5, and Ed Sheeran. which are all very identifiable and very simple, meaning that an album cover doesn't have to be some huge showing of artistic talent. It can be very much calm and just casually in your face. It doesn't have to be super intense, which I really like because it gives you a lot of room to explore what you want to do for this artwork and this lesson plan. Then we have some much more complicated looking albums, and where you can start to derive more of a meaning from it. Here we have a bunch of little animals just chilling out on a boat. This one's just a lot of pastel colors. It's really easy to look at, and it's pretty simple, just overall, but very hard to design, but is still fun to look at. Then we have Fallout Boy, where you kind of have the bear getting carried by a teddy bear, which could be due to the fact that some people find their music very unappealing and some people find it very appealing. Then we have Mothership and a bunch of other albums where you can see a lot more concrete artwork is being created. It's very much there to tell you what's sort of happening and the type of music you're going to have. And then here's a work in progress of my album cover that I designed to show you guys today. Here we have just a nice little pencil outline, and then led into some like color, and then some more color. And when I was designing this, I was just thinking about what can I do to capture the type of music I listen to, which is typically very spacey and kind of way out there in terms of soundstage. It sounds like things are happening all around you rather than right in your ears. Then, we go on and add more color, so on and so forth. And when I was making this, I was listening to a song by the group Rush that had a lot of sections of it where it sounded like there was flowing water, which really gave me the idea of a gondolier kind of traveling through a large blue area. And I feel really helped create a concrete sort of idea for me. And I end up really liking this artwork. It's one of my favorites I've ever done, and I'm very proud of it. So the materials you will be using in class today are just your typical pencil, watercolors, markers, and eraser, and then the 12 by 12 square sheet of paper that you have. And the reason that you only have one sheet is because I want you to kind of experiment and just take whatever you start drawing and run with it. If you think it's going nowhere, then make it go nowhere and just be a bunch of random shapes if you want to, or random numbers or letters that are just spread out around the page. I want you to really think about how can I make something that at first might not seem super interesting if you feel a little bit weird about it, and try to turn it into something way more interesting than what you're seeing in front of you. I find that this is a great art exercise for me. It really helped me with my drawing. And I love seeing people just work on things that they either love or kind of meh about. Obviously, do have an eraser so you can erase your lines, but that's also up to you. And then here we have a material demonstration. This is just a YouTube link that you will be able to click on, and it will take you through an explanation of how to use some of the markers and watercolors. Okay, good. Class, this is a material demonstration on how to use your markers and your watercolors. So with markers, you're able to actually blend a lot of them together just by laying down a layer of the lighter color in this case yellow, and then going over it with a darker color like blue, and then repeating this, and repeating the yellow back on top of it. So as you can see here, I'm just coloring in a nice large square, then I'm going over really quickly with the blue, then picking my yellow back up, and just going back over and blending it out. And this creates a very nice transition between the yellow and blue. And an important thing to note is that your yellow or whatever colors you're using might take a bit of the new color on there, just kind of swirl it around, and that will come right out, and you can then have your original color back. And as for the watercolor, you can do the exact same thing, and you can paint with them in several different ways. So if I just take something like, let's do red. Just get a nice little area of that right down here. And then wash my brush off in some water. And then grab some yellow. Go over it. You can see that it starts to make a nice little orange transition area. And that's because when you mix red and yellow, they become orange. And let me get a bit more yellow so that I can demonstrate that transition a bit better. You can also do a cool little trick called wet on wet with watercolor, where you lay down an area of just plain old water, and then take your brush, get a new color, and then put it on, and it becomes this really pale, sort of blotchy looking color, which is very aesthetically pleasing just due to the fact that it becomes pretty much a pastel color. Something very light and very easy to look at. Okay, and that's the material demonstration. So as you saw there, you have a good reference video that I created so that you can kind of experiment with what you can do with your colors. Obviously, different colors will create different blends and different transitions. And if you were to mix a color of red and green, you would either get a gray or a brown. Okay, good. And that just played again, so let's go to the next page. And here we have a list of songs that I feel you probably more than likely have heard, everything from Olivia Rodrigo, Good For You, to Queen, to some Fall Out Boy, Earth, Wind and Fire, Red Hot Chili Peppers. I'm sure a lot of your parents or your friends' parents probably have played either Earth, Wind and Fire or Red Hot Chili Peppers in the car. And then right down here, the very last link I have is a YouTube link to Rush 2112, specifically the section of the song titled The Dream, which is the song that I used for creating my album cover. And then I took some inspirations from the color. Here we have a song like Snow by Red Hot Chili Peppers, which you can hear has a very warm sound sonically. It's very sort of there in the face, which could kind of inspire you to have more of like a red, orange, and yellow for your materials. Or, let's go back. Or you could come in and listen to Olivia Rodrigo, and you can pay attention to the lyrics that she says and that she sings for a literal translation, where you could take exactly what she's saying and just draw that. So, or you can try to take an idea of the song where you listen through.
Good for you, I guess you moved on really easily. You found a new girl and it only took a couple weeks. Remember when you said that you wanted to give me the world? Good for you, I guess guess that you've been working on yourself. I guess the therapist I found for you should really help. Now you can be a better man for your brand new girl. Well, good for you, you look happy and healthy. Not me, if you ever cared to ask. Good for you, you're doing great out there without me, baby. Gotta wish that I could do that. I lost my mind, don't spend the night crying on the floor of my bedroom. But you're so unaffected, I really don't get it. I guess good for you.
So, in the little excerpt, you get sort of an idea of either the energy of the song that you could draw, with the chorus being very energetic and being very much designed to be the main section of the song that you remember. So you could have a line that changes color bouncing around a black page or just a white page even. Or in the beginning of the song, it's very much just her voice with a lone bass string just repeating. So you could either draw like a girl sitting in a very black background that has nothing but maybe a little few sound lines or wavelengths that you can draw. And then we have some stuff that I'm sure you have heard on the radio or just on Spotify and stuff like that. From Queen, Another One Bites the Dust, very famous song.
Ain't no sound but the sound of speak. Out of the doorway, the bullets. Another one bites the dust. Hey, hey, I'm gonna get you too. Another one bites the dust.
And then we also have something like Champion by Fall Out Boy. So it's actually really interesting. You could take these lyrics quite literally and just draw a phone calling that says like future on it and just have that be your album cover. Or you could listen to it and try to find more lines that you could try to draw, or you could try to draw the sound itself, which could be very energetic, could be very colorful, or just kind of nothing at all. It could just be what you think a champion is and draw that on a random colored background. Then we have our extension activity. This is to continue on with the idea of what you just did. So you can take the finished album cover and flip it over to the back and design something new on it. So this could be something along the lines of just continuing the design or coming up with a brand new one. And then once you finish that, think of what type of songs you could put on there. Me personally, I would put on a lot of Red Hot Chili Peppers, a lot of Rush, and just kind of think of it like that. I would be very interested to see what you guys have when your parents eventually send an email back, just for myself to know what my students in the future will be listening to, and just kind of see if I guessed correctly in music that you guys might know. And obviously this part is very much open-ended. You get to do what you want and kind of think about what you would listen to. Then we have just this page breaking down the essential question and the standards. This is just for me. Then we have your vocabulary and definitions. This is just in case you want to go back and see how any of these apply to any of the previous artworks. Like here we have just a line moving through a bunch of negative space, making the line the positive space and the black the negative space. Here on the Beatles cover, we get a little bit of texture in how the one is painted, with some thin areas and some areas with a very grainy surface down towards the bottom of it. And I believe that is all I have for you today. So I hope you enjoy your art making, and I hope you all have a fantastic day. Thank you.